SD card, CF Express Type A, Type B, and soon Type C. Where is the camera storage industry headed? A talk with Angelbird.
You're watching CineD, supported by B&H and CVP.
Hi, my name is Nino from CineD. I'm here at the Angelbird booth at IBC 2024 with Roman. How are you?
I'm very well, and yourself?
Also very well indeed. The show is well underway, and we actually have started this tradition, I think, at NAB to not necessarily talk about individual products because, I don't want to hurt you, but how much can you talk about one memory card? But we talk about more policy in a way and whole background of memory and where things are going. And I'm just curious, I mean, you are one of the very few companies in the space who are actively targeting filmmakers, I would say. I mean, like a lot of other players in the field are just targeting, every mom and dad who needs a memory card. But your products are specifically made for filming, right? So what is kind of the sweet spot in terms of size of what people are actually buying? Because our thinking is that it's not always the best idea to buy the largest card because you're actually risking footage if you put everything on one card. So my guess is that other filmmakers might think the same.
Yeah, that's true. So what we have seen from the market is that the sweet spot, especially for SD cards, is 128 gig V90s. These are also for the most of the cameras. You have a dual slot recording option, so you can do the backup. These you can, of course, use for all kinds of products and host systems. So 128 V90 is really good space to be currently. On the CF Express, we have seen 512, 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte, and 4 terabyte are typically for these guys which are doing documentary, which are in the extreme conditions, let's say, where they cannot replace the cards, helicopter shots, underwater. So these special tasks. So there also, of course, the quantity in the market is little or homeopathic, but the sweet spot on Type B, so CF Express, that's 512 and 1 terabyte. C-Fast, still 256, 512, okay, some 1 terabyte, especially for the red cameras for the Komodo. And for the micro SD, there we see sweet spot 128, 256. So that's where we say the majority is in regards of the capacities. In regards of the technology, we have seen more and more adoption of CF Express. So the Compact Flash Association behind CF Express is doing really a good job. Also by implementing with the host manufacturer, with the camera systems, that this is a really, really good space to be in regards of technology. Generation 4.0, so version 4 is getting into the market.
What's new about that?
Yeah, still, I mean, you have the double bandwidth, but on the camera side, you don't have any benefit. It's more on the reading out side, but also there the systems, so the computer system must adapt it and have support it. So you need USB 4.0 or Thunderbolt. So there still it's not a standard, but for sure within the next 12 months it will be there. So then you can also benefit from the high-speed download.
It sounds almost a little bit like Thunderbolt 4, which was actually a downgrade for a lot of people versus Thunderbolt 3 on various levels, right? For if you use a lot of accessories and so on. It's not really needed a new standard for SD, right?
Yes, exactly. And also here you always have to make sure that the entire chain must be compatible. So why do you need, for example, SD 8.0? You have PCIe, but if you don't have any host system out there, so you have no computer, you have no camera, so what can you benefit? And especially if you're talking about SD 8.0, the SD part is just UHS 1. So you are very limited. You cannot use these type of cards in a V90 camera, like in a Sony or in a Canon or a Fuji, because you just don't get the speed what the camera would need. So you always have to see, does my system and my workflow support it? That's it.
I'm curious. I mean, Canon just released 2 new cameras, which proving to be quite popular, at least with our readers and viewers. the C80 and the C400. Now the C4, and both of them do RAW internal in different flavors of the Canon RAW. Though there's a little bit of a difference, of course, with the C80 having SD cards only, and C400 has CF Express Type B. Now, in your opinion, is it, like, is there a reliability issue? Like, can I use an SD card in a camera like that for RAW recording as long as I can use a CF Express Type B card, or will it fail earlier? Because there's a little bit of a concern. I see, there's only €2,000 difference between the two cameras, and I think a lot of people are thinking about which one to get. And one of the discussions we see online is that people are a little bit concerned about the reliability of SD in the long term if you keep using that for RAW recording with the high data rates. Is there any issue with that?
I mean, I think, Canon for sure thought about what they will do. The SD cards are very well adapted in the market. The technology is very mature. And on the C80, I think the SD card is very well positioned there because you will not go higher than 256 or 512 in capacity, and most likely the majority of the users, they will record in a codec and not in RAW. When you go to the C400, which is more a cine camera, I think the CF Express...
Well, they're both marketed as cine cameras, right?
Yeah, sure, of course. I mean, they are. Yeah. But that's just my personal view. I think the C80 is more like in between, where this on the options and the possibilities on the C400. Also from the history, it's more the cine. It's my opinion, and there, for sure, you need the higher capacities.
But if I were to use, I mean, we're shooting with a C80 here. Yeah. If I were to shoot everything in RAW all the time, is an SD card more likely to fail earlier than a CF Express Type B card?
I would say no. Has nothing to do with that. It depends on what are the components used, and here especially the NAND flash, so the quality of the NAND flash and the generation of the NAND flash, and of course of the firmware, so the software, which is managing all the cells, so the NAND itself. And as I said, SD cards nowadays from reliable manufacturers, they are reliable. And most of the people who have an SD card, they have a ton of them laying in their chests, and they pull them out after 5, 6, 7 years and they still work. So I don't think that there's a big difference in reliability. Of course, if you say you go for extreme temperatures, depending on what you do, I would rather choose an SD or a CF Express. Also here, it depends completely on your use case and on your workflow.
And will it, for example, I mean, the difference on these cameras is also like the maximum frame rate you can record, which is probably limited by what you can save to the card, right? Is that something that, let's say there would be a faster SD card at some point, would that even be possible to enable the manufacturer to push a firmware update to record more frames, or not really?
Not really, no. So you cannot update the technology, and on SD currently UHS-2 we go up to 512 gig. That's roughly the max. There will be 1 terabyte as well. So there you can reach 300 megabytes or megabits per second recording, sustained about 240, 250. So you can capture actually a lot, but if you really want to go and have higher speeds, then you have to move to a different technology, in this case CF Express. There would be the option of SD 8.0, but then you are limited on the form factor, you are limited on the capacity which you can push into this form factor, and of course heat dissipation is a big topic if you really push and burn a lot of wattage, and in the end of the day, my personal view, I cannot say anything about it, but I don't think that there's too many host manufacturers which will adapt SD 8.0 and on the camera market, rather go for the CF Express Type A, B, also Type C is coming soon. It's a bigger form factor.
Type C?
Yes. It's a bigger form factor. Currently there's no adaptation and no use in the market, but it would be ready. But with Type A and Type B, you can capture so much. So you have a high speed, you have reliable media. Also, the form factor is very handy, so it's not too small for losing. And also for storing it's good. And the heat dissipation, that's always a big topic. It works with these two form factors. And if you compare that with an SD card, it's just smaller. Most of the SD cards are with a plastic material, so the housing is plastic, and you just don't have the surface to get off the temperature.
5 years from now, what's your vision for the market with the storage cards? I mean, do you see SD going away? Will it be replaced by only CF Express Type A and B and C?
That's very hard to say. Currently, the adoption of CF Express is very high. So for sure, there is a nice market for CF Express, and that will be there. SD cards, of course, they will be there, because if you count how many cameras had been released over the last 20 years on SD, it will have still a long way to go. And still we get requests for old CFast cards and CF cards from the market, because the systems are there. And actually they
Make CF cards too?
No, we don't do, but the request is there. And don't forget, now it's more and more in, reusing these old cameras. So I think the path is still there, that the market is also there, and the demand.
Awesome. Thank you, Roman. Nice little update on where the industry is and where it's going in terms of memory cards. One of the topics that a lot of people just assume is supposed to work but never really think about it. So always nice to hear what you think is coming and where everything is headed. Thank you. Have a good rest of the show. Thanks everybody for watching. Stay tuned to CineD for a lot more from IBC 2024, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks.